Most of us are loving the way that Beyblade X looks, from the anime to the Beyblades themselves. The gimmick looks to be really cool, as well as it pretty much makes attack the meta. But for all the coverage we've seen of Beyblade X, there isn't really that much battle footage out. And the first battles that we're gonna watch come from Takara Tomy themselves. Not really the best footage to choose from, but it's what we're gonna start with. The first battle that we're gonna look at is between DranSword and Wizard Arrow. This is the attack type versus stamina. So it's 3, 2, 1, let it rip. Immediately, DranSword is going crazy with its attack. And really, some people were worried about the fact that, maybe all Beys are going to be attack types because of this rail thing. But as you can see, Wizard Arrow stuck right in the middle of the stadium, as you expect a stamina type would. Round 2, they launch yet again. DranSword going super aggressive. And really, Wizard is staying right in the middle of the stadium. DranSword takes a loss here, so it's really going to be boom or bust for these attack types. So if you're worried that attack is going to be way too strong, as you can see, stamina still plays a factor here. The next battle is going to be between Hell Scythe and Night Shield. Balance and defense. Maybe this battle won't be as crazy. They launch. Hell Scythe gets a lot of aggression at the beginning, catches on to the teeth. And if these Beys catch, they're pretty aggressive, but Hell Scythe still didn't last that long. It made a couple of really big hits on Night Shield, but for the most part, the battle was pretty quick. Beyblade X is selling like hotcakes, so I recommend you get some before you lose your chance using Mall of Toys. Mall of Toys now has all the Beyblade X releases up for pre-order, including some bigger bundles. If I was to recommend anything, I'd make sure not to miss out on the Battle Pass and a Stadium. Battle Pass just sold out really fast on Amazon Japan, and the Stadiums are always just kind of hard to come by and can be even more expensive later on, so I'd pick those up early. The links are going to be in the description down below. Go and check them out. On to round 2, let it rip. Still, Night Shield is sticking right in the middle of the stadium, as you expect a defense type would. And it looks like Hell Scythe is going to be out of stamina, but there's a burst. I also want to take a look at this burst finish a little bit. We're going to play in like super slow-mo speed. You can't really tell from this angle, but I'll show a better example later. Night Shield is actually tilted a little bit away from Hell Scythe, exposing the ratchet. So whenever Hell Scythe is making contact here, I think that it's mostly hitting the ratchet part of the Beyblade, which seems to be a bit of the burst weak spot. So then I click play, and because of that contact, the Bey just explodes and the battle's over in a burst finish. It looks like if a Bey hits this ratchet part hard enough, then the battle is over. I really do think I like this because with enough metal contact, your Bey isn't really gonna burst, but if you launch it maybe a little bit sideways to get like a flower pattern, you could be opening your Beyblade up to a burst finish. There's definitely a lot of worry that this generation of Beyblade is gonna be too random, but with what we've seen so far, I don't really think so. I think how you launch your Beyblade is really gonna matter. Let's quickly talk about how this point system works for whenever you guys wanna score your battles. A spin finish is 1 point, a burst finish is 2 points, a normal knockout into the smaller little pockets is 2 points, and then an extreme knockout, which is new to this generation, counts as 3. And the first 1 to 4 points wins. So as you can see, they're really prioritizing attack types here, because if your defense or stamina type wins by spin finish, you're gonna have to win 4 rounds to win the battle. Meanwhile, you can use an attack type, get lucky with an extreme KO, and there's 3 points right there. But those are the battles from Takara Tomy. Trust and believe them if you will. We're also going to look at a channel called Leo Toy, who's been making Beyblade videos for a long time, and they've done some really good coverage for this latest Beyblade X event. I'll leave a link in the description down below. Definitely go and check it out. We're only going to watch a couple of battles here, so that way I don't spoil everything. So I like the camera angle of this person's video as well. You can see a lot of the aggression, and then there is going to be a knockout right there. You can see how small the knockout pockets are. I think that's pretty interesting. I don't know if Beys are going to be able to bounce back into the stadium. If they do, will that count as a knockout still? So this battle is pretty interesting in that it's between Hell Scythe and Wizard Arrow, and it's very hard to see, but if I click play here, that was maybe a burst finish. So let's go back. We're going to put this at 0.25 speed. The Wizard Arrow is super angled to the side. and there is a decent contact there. The Hell Scythe actually seemingly hits the bit, or once again the ratchet, and the Bey bursts. Technically, the bit actually flies out, and Wizard Arrow, the rest of the Bey, kind of flies into the pocket. That should probably count as a burst finish, because if the bit comes out, it's technically bursting. We're gonna have to wait until more rules come out, but I assume just the bit coming out would count as a burst finish. But it is pretty interesting that a burst isn't necessarily the blade and the ratchet coming apart. It could just be the bit coming out as well. This next battle is just the best example of an extreme knockout. So we click play here. We're gonna watch, and just immediately DranSword kicks Wizard Arrow out of the stadium. I don't want you guys to think that an extreme knockout is gonna be easy either. It looks like the ridge in between the stadium and the pocket's pretty big. So you're gonna need a pretty major impact, or just to get kind of lucky. One last snippet of a battle we're gonna look at. Let's hit play. There's gonna be a lot of contact here. I mean, these Beys are heavy metal too, and they're hitting really, really hard. Not really a burst finish, but then it hits once again at a bit of an angle. This is at 0.25 speed. As you can see, DranSword is leaning just a little bit. Hell Scythe is gonna hit underneath the majority of the blade, and that is seemingly what causes the burst finish. Going back to what I said earlier, I think it's pretty important because it really does affect how you launch your Beyblade. Because if you launch it in a flower pattern where maybe the blade is leaning over a little bit, you're opening yourself up to a potential burst finish. So there's a little bit of strategy there. That element of strategy is pretty important, because I think there are a lot of people out there that think this new generation is going to be too random. How are they going to make Beyblade and Beyblade X a sport if it's just all random? Who has the fastest Bey? Just hard launch and knock a Beyblade out of the stadium. But it doesn't really work like that. Yes, there is the degree of randomness a little bit, just like there has been with every generation of Beyblade. There's no way to exactly tell if you were going to knock somebody out, if you were going to be the one that gets the spin finish, if you were going to be the one that gets the burst. And so same thing here. There is that element of surprise, but that's kind of what makes Beyblade fun. Yes, winning because of your strategy is fun as well, but if Beyblade was predictable 100% of the time, that would just be so boring. Pretty much all these battles have been two people just hard launching. We don't know if what's going to happen if somebody slow launches, or maybe someone angles their launcher in some wild way. These are elements of strategy that we have not seen yet, and we're not going to see until July. We also have a pretty limited selection of parts as of right now. It's going to take a little while to decide what parts are meta, what Beyblades are meta, and really have any sort of meta develop until we have more than like 4 parts. Yes, this system is really different in the way that it plays, and probably the way the meta will develop compared to the previous gens, but I think that's okay, because Beyblade needs something to make it fresh, something to make it exciting, and if that means an all-new way to play the game, that could be just fine. This may be kind of controversial, a bit of a hot take if you will, but I don't know how people could defend a meta that was purely about stamina and outspinning your opponent. That's so boring. But that's gonna wrap up this video, and there's also way more battles that I did not talk about, so I'll definitely leave some links in the description down below if you guys are interested. Thank you guys for watching. Let me know what you think in the comments down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Have fun, and Bey away.